Morning. Happy Sunday. I'm glad you could make it this morning. So this is going to be a relatively, medium size, I guess, chunk of time. I'm talking like maybe 10 or 15 minutes this morning. What I wanted to share with you is actually an answer to someone that was on my YouTube channel, and I asked in the video, what would you like to hear? What kind of challenges do you have, particularly with executive interviewing, that I can help with? And so a lady that is I guess a subscriber asked if I could share some advice on curing nerves in an executive interview. So let's talk about how to cure nerves, because if you've got nerves, especially in an executive interview, you know, one of the things that employers are looking for, and also I guess executive recruiters, is executive presence. And executive presence gets eroded very quickly when you appear nervous. And of course, appearing nervous means that they start to see you sweat a little bit or glow on your face for women. And they also hear a shakiness in your voice. That is something that you need to really overcome, and very quickly. So there are a lot of different techniques that I have given to my clients over the years, and I do personal interview coaching, and so does my team. And so if you've got interviews coming up that you want to get prepped for, just email me. The email is going to be in the description, but it's basically Tammy, Tammy, at beyondjobsearching.com. So I would like you to entertain using this one. I guess it's a power pose. It's a piece of advice that has been really successful. Because I could go on for over an hour on how to cure nerves. It might be something that I do in a live stream. In fact, I've got a live stream coming up on Friday, this coming Friday, and those are usually an hour, maybe a little bit longer. And so I do a deep dive into a topic. And I think that nerves in an interview might be a good one. So if you are interested in that, you can either, if you're in chat, if you're right now watching me live, you can put in your email address, and I'll send you information on how to register for that. And if you're watching this later, once I have put it up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, so once I do that, if you're watching this and it's recorded, then you can email me, Tammy at beyondjobsearching.com, and just ask to be put on the distribution list for the webinar that I do. And you'll also get notification if you are a subscriber on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. There's no reason not to. Okay, so let's talk about when we go into a job interview, and this really will work for anyone at any level. And if you've ever heard of the Superman pose, or the I guess it's a confidence pose, it is really, it's a power pose is what they call it. So a power pose includes the Superman pose, and then there's also another pose. And I don't know that they give that one a name other than the other power pose. So let me explain to you what the Superman pose is, what the power pose is, and why you should use it. It is something that a professor, Harvard Business School professor, Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, she is a social psychologist and a professor at Harvard Business School. So she came up with, back in 2010, she did a TED Talk. And you can look up on YouTube, you can find the Amy Cuddy TED Talk, TEDx talk, and you will find the power pose. So if you call it Superman pose, it may not come up, but if you call it power pose, you'll definitely find the right TED Talk. So in that, she talked about adopting a stance associated with confidence and power and achievement. And what that is doing this for 2 minutes. So she and a colleague of hers actually did this really nice study that was a clinical double-blind study, and they adopted stances associated with confidence, power, and achievement. And then there was a control group that adopted the stance of being closed and smaller. And that's when we're not feeling confident, we feel smaller. We close off our energy, we close off our communication. And so what you want to do in a power pose is lift your chest. Your head is held high. So really think about your shoulders being back, just like if you were in the military and they said stand up straight. So it's really shoulders back in very open pose right here, as well as in addition to the open pose, you want to open it up even down here. So just feel like you are projecting a lot of energy. You could even picture your heart as a sun and it's shining out if you wanted to do that. That's going to give you a tremendous amount of energy, as well as being positive and less nervous. So they had people lift their chest, their head held high, and their arms were in two different poses. One was the Superman pose, so it's just hands on your hips, and you want to stand with your legs, your feet shoulder width apart, just like you were on top of that hill where Superman goes and the cape is flying and you're looking great. That's what you want to do 2 minutes before your interview. This is actually very easy to do if you are having a video interview and you need to just kind of chill out and do the Superman pose. So if you're doing an in-person interview, and there are companies that are now doing in-person interviews again, and so if that's going to happen, I always recommend just duck into a bathroom stall and do the Superman pose for 2 minutes. Now the other power pose is your hands lifted. I can't really do this. I broke my shoulder a few years back, so it's hard for me to lift up. But really, it's like shining up to heaven, looking at the sun. Let's say you're worshiping the sun and you want the sun to come in. That's the second power pose. But I like the Superman pose because it's you do it in less room, but it still achieves the same result. So what Cuddy talked about in the TED Talk from 2012 is that both animals and humans, they use this open posture when they are confident and asserting their dominance. And then when you have a closed posture, you feel small and you feel very submissive. So they did this study back in 2012, and she wrote a book about it, where she wanted to see, okay, so if this is a natural thing with humans and animals, what happens if you do it, like fake it till you make it, and then what do you see after 2 minutes? So they did, I believe the collaborator with Amy Cuddy was Dana Carney with a C, C-A-R-N-E-Y. And I believe Dana's from Berkeley. So they had two groups of people, students I think, to adopt either a high power or a low power pose for 2 minutes each. And then the first thing they did is they asked them if they want to gamble. Are you willing to take a risk? Are you willing to go out there and gamble, basically? And so what they found is that 86% of those people who posed in a high power position said yes, they opted to gamble. They felt like a winner. And then 60% of the low power posers felt comfortable rolling the dice. So even more interesting, though, were the physiological differences between the two groups. So what they did is they did saliva samples, and then they tested for testosterone and also for cortisol. So testosterone is it's associated with males, but both men and women have testosterone, just different levels. And so they were checking that because testosterone is it's the hormone of dominance. It's the hormone of positivity, actually, or really just confidence. If you're confident, you tend to have a little bit more testosterone because you're an alpha versus a beta. Now, cortisol is exactly the opposite. Cortisol results from stress and also causes stress. So what they found was that with testosterone, if somebody did the pose, the power pose for 2 minutes, then they did a swab for their saliva, and they found an 8% increase in testosterone, and the low posers had a 10% decrease in testosterone. So that's an 18% stretch or spread. That's huge. That statistically significant. That is really, really significant. So you want to have more testosterone when you go into an interview because you want to be seen as a leader. You want to be seen as calm and confident. It is also a very confident hormone. So when we look again at cortisol, what they found was even more interesting. It was a bigger shift. So cortisol, the power posers had a 25% decrease in that stress hormone, in that cortisol hormone. And then the low power posers had a 15% increase in cortisol, which makes them more nervous, makes them more agitated. So you're looking at a 40% difference in cortisol levels. Cortisol levels will, it'll really get you if you have a lot of cortisol. You will come across, you will know it. People will know it. So when it comes to, I would say, going into an interview when you're preparing, do the Superman pose. You can do the other pose if you want to. I prefer the Superman, but either one for 2 minutes, and you will find that you have a different mindset, and it keeps those, it keeps the cortisol levels low, it keeps the testosterone levels higher, not much, but some, and that will help you get down some of the nerves that you've got. So if you've got nerves, I want you to try the Superman pose. And you should do that, you should test it out with people that you know ahead of time. So, and if there are any informational interviews that you're doing, even any networking kind of calls that you're doing, do the Superman pose. Something else too, if you're in a phone interview, go ahead and do the Superman pose while you're in the interview. They're going to tell. Just like when you smile on the phone, people can tell. And so that's what I would recommend for you is do that on any kind of phone screening call. Stand up, put your hands on your hips. If you've got, hopefully you've got a Bluetooth that you can use that's, that you don't have to handle your phone. But just even if you handle your phone, then, just make sure that, that you're heard very clearly, as well as using a Superman pose during the interview. So I hope this has helped. We got into a lot of physiological details. So thank you very much for watching this morning. And if you've got, I really am curious, if you've got other challenges that you would like me to address on a live stream. I want to apologize. I actually was out this past week, and that's why I did not do any live streams this past week. I actually had pneumonia, but it's better. It's better. I still have a raspy voice. Other than that, I am back in business. All right. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Tammy Kabell with Career Resume Consulting. Go ahead and leave your comment in the comments below, and I will add some additional resources there. So you might check back to the channel after that and subscribe. And if this was helpful for you and you're watching this live, give it a thumbs up. Or if you're watching it later, give it a thumbs up. It really does help to spread the word. It helps get my information in front of more people so that they can really, it helps them in executive interviews, but also just any professional interviews at all. I know a lot of people have told us that they've gotten actual jobs from just looking at my YouTube channel and the contents. So I would love for you to subscribe. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much. And yeah, let me know if you have any other questions that I can answer. Again, Tammy Kabell with Career Resume Consulting. All right, bye-bye.